Welcome to New Life Live, the premier place to receive free advice from Christian psychologists and counselors for the mental, emotional, relational, and spiritual challenges you face. Since 1988, we've offered compassionate responses that combine God's truth with proven psychological principles to guide you toward healing. Our phone lines are open. Call us now at 1-800-229-3000.
Glad you found us. It is not a coincidence. This is New Life Live, and I'm your host, Brian Perez. We'll be taking your calls for 2 hours today. We would love a chance at giving you a new chance at life, whether you're going through fear or your issue is along the lines of one of our many workshops, webinars, conferences, and courses like anxiety, betrayal, porn addiction, even eating disorders. We're here to help at 1-800-229-3000. And here to offer loving advice as only they can, we've got clinical psychologist Dr. Alice Benton and Jim Burns, the founder of Homeward. Alice, how are you?
Well, grateful and honored to be here because New Life helps me so much. So
Yes.
to get to be a part of it,
Yes.
grateful and honored.
Yes. And Dr. Jim, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good. And you know what? Any day hanging out with Alice is a good day.
Agreed.
She is the
Agreed.
best. She's one of my faves.
Yes, she is good. So what's on your mind to start us off
I was
today?
thinking about marriage.
Okay.
And in fact, the last time I was here, I talked a little bit about marriage too. And you know, one of the phrases I use a lot on the show is communication is a learned trade. Mm-hmm. And I just find that so many of the callers, if they could only learn how to communicate a little bit more effectively, it would be better. And the reason I say this is because I think for the first 10 years of Kathy's and my marriage, I was like thinking I was a great communicator, and I was a horrible communicator. I built walls. I did all these kind of things. And so I think we have to be intentional about communication. And I think there's 3 simple things that we made a decision to do years ago, and this is personal for us, so it's not the prescription for everybody. But Kathy and I made a decision early in our marriage to have a weekly date night. And I didn't realize until the last few years how key that's been, the foundation of just going on dates. Times in our life when our kids were little and we couldn't figure out babysitting, and there were times where our dates, we just put the kids to bed. I shouldn't say this because she's such a person of integrity. We'd move the clock, Brian. So we go, okay, it's 7 o'clock, everybody. It's really 6:30.
No.
But it's time to go to bed, so we can spend time and, eat fun Chinese food or something and watch a movie. But I ask people all the time, are you willing to give 1% of your time to your spouse? Mm-hmm. Well, nobody. In fact, I've seen men not raise their hand at conferences I'm speaking. I go, look, this is an easy one. Just it's 1% of your week. Mm-hmm. And that's actually about 90 minutes. And so what I'm asking them to do is consider having a date night with their spouse. Research shows that when you have a date, there is more romance in your relationship. There's better connection and communication. And I'm suggesting that on those dates, you don't talk about the bills and even the kids. I mean, you can talk about the kids, but you really want to connect with each other. That's that time. And Kathy
it's not
and
so
I,
much talking about the problems that are going on or anything.
No, that's it. And I have found that I need to work at that because I want to talk to Kathy about the problems. But we've done this for years. I mean, I've been married 50 years. We've done this for 47 of the years. And I'm not saying every date's been great. We've had arguments on our dates. And we've had dates we couldn't afford and we, all that kind of stuff. But I just find that those dates are solid for us. Secondly, I think it's really important that we do find a time to communicate the business of life. I'm not saying, like us, we're not in a business. But we need to talk about insurance and we need to talk about bills. And we need to talk about calendar. And then thirdly for us is our spiritual connection. I would say the least developed area of intimacy in a marriage for a lot of Christians even is spiritual intimacy. Mm-hmm. And so we spend 20 minutes a week. I know that sounds so, easy. It's hard sometimes to find those 20 minutes, but it's really a cool thing that we've done for years and years. And we just kind of connect with each other. We pray for the kids. We pray for each other. We hold hands. Mm-hmm. Kathy says that's sexy. I don't know that that's sexy, but it's really a cool thing that we do.
Yeah.
And I'm suggesting that maybe somebody could do that and it might just change their marriage. And those are 3 simple, easy ways to do it. I realize life is complicated. I'm not saying it just takes away all the problems.
Right.
But we've got to be intentional.
Yep. All right. We're going to take a break. We'll be back with your calls. Lou, Ty, Janet, everyone else. 1-800-229-3000.
I went to Every Man's Battle in 2012. My sexual integrity was not what it should have been. I sought out affairs, whether physical or emotional. Until I came to Every Man's Battle, I didn't understand that would never fill that void.
Every day, men struggle with sexual integrity, impure thoughts, strip clubs, affairs, pornography.
The shame and guilt was overwhelming.
For over 20 years, New Life Ministries has been helping men regain their integrity and purity through their one-of-a-kind Every Man's Battle Intensive.
You will discover what the true root of your pain is, and you will discover how to overcome.
You don't have to struggle any longer. Get help in Cincinnati, Ohio, August 22nd through the 24th. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE to register or to find out more. 1-800-639-5433 or online at newlife.com. Enter the code NLL for a discount.
Every Man's Battle saved my life.
1-800-NEW-LIFE and the discount code NLL. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
The easiest way to listen to New Life Live anytime, any place, from any device is to download the New Life app, available wherever fine apps are sold. But ours is free. Get it for your iPhone or your Android. Let's go to the phones now, 1-800-229-3000, beginning with Janet, who is a Club New Life member, calling in from Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, that is. She listens on newlife.com. Hi there, Janet. Welcome.
Hi there. This is Brian?
Yes.
Hi. Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for taking my call. I'm a long New Life Club member. I don't know if you remember this. I think you took the call. I don't know if Becky was there. Allison might have been the one to comment. But anyway, do you remember in February listening to a panicked, frantic, let's see what other adjectives, woman in a high pitch and motor mouth in big distress?
Oh.
Was that you?
It was.
You sound different.
Yes, you sound different.
Don't I? I feel like this, this, I settled. And, so I'm sure you don't remember the background, but basically, my husband had a relationship with somebody at work. It didn't get very far, but I had to be reminded that it wasn't only what did I say, platonic? Well, I said they did kiss, and then I don't know which one, Allison or whoever said, stopped me and said, no. A kiss is sexually charged. I'm like, oh, okay. So, it's like, oh, okay, truth. So anyway, I'll try to fast forward, and I don't have to fit in every detail of our marriage anymore because I already said it. Anyway, so I went to Restore in May at Dallas, and then signed up, which was wonderful, very, very deep, made some friends and feel, support right then, right there. And then we all said we wanted to go to the marriage intensive, but so started getting closer and closer, and I was like, oh my gosh, we got to sign up for this. And I didn't lay down a list of things that I needed my husband to check off after Restore. But we started marriage counseling right after that call. It gave me the ammunition and the strength to, call, ask for a New Life recommendation, and we got one. And she's just the sweetest little old lady, but oh my gosh, she was somebody that my husband didn't know, and he was skeptical. I mean, he's just been running from therapy our whole marriage and never really settled into, I got to do this. I want to do whatever it takes until after, this affair thing that just, to me, it raged on. But it was this underlying thing going on in our marriage for over a year.
Yeah.
And I was so distraught, as you could hear. So, because I couldn't get the, the truth. I couldn't get the complete disclosure.
Yeah.
And I knew that I knew that I knew. There was, I don't know how many times, but I knew there was a soul tie. And, more than that. But anyway, so after confronting him basically 4 times in different ways, out and out, bold in January, and, I know this is going on. I had her phone number from my phone statement, blah, blah, blah. Hey, January. Okay, so nothing much changed. I admit, I think I'm an avoidant pleaser. So I've been in basically a separation, in-house separation that was never declared. But I had not been going to bed at the same time with my husband for 5 years.
Now, Janet, did you say that you also went to the intimacy in marriage, or that?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, we did.
Okay.
And so anyway, so this in-house separation, which I never declared, but it was definitely going on. I was avoiding him. It had been basically 46 years of having a relationship when I was in my first semester of college, and I was dating my husband since, a year or two. And so I got pregnant, we got married, and he held it against me for 46 years. So you can imagine impact.
Yeah, but it sounds like you're on the path to healing now that you're doing the work personally. The two of you are going to a counselor. You've been to the Restore Intensive, which is to help women who have been betrayed. And now you're doing the intimacy in marriage as well, which is great for couples to attend together and to get the help that they need.
Janet,
I want to say how profound, how very profound the marriage intensive was. Not knowing, my husband was a nervous wreck. He's like, "Oh, am I going to be confronted?" I was like, "Come on, this is for both of us to get the skills we need to run the race with endurance, hand in hand, into the sunset." And this is my motivation. So, you better just trust it, okay?
Janet, you're giving a testimony to so many Christian women who may struggle with being avoidant and pleasers, because that seems like a good Christian way to be. But as those resentments you're describing, as they simmer under the surface for decades, and perhaps you tried asking for therapy before and it didn't go very far. And sometimes it's on the 3rd try, the 5th try, the 15th try that you hit the right combination of this therapist that's getting through to your husband. What I think the core of your message is that time is going to pass anyhow, but ladies, what are you going to do with the time? And will you risk getting help and asking, perhaps even requiring of your husbands, "I'm not going to settle for this. We can be better. We can do better." So Janet, you're just giving hope, and you're kind of showing that, ladies, this is the pathway. You don't have to stay silent, and that's not even always the best way to be. Speak up. Take action. Janet, we're so proud that you did that.
What do you say, Jim, to guys who are, reluctant to go to something like intimacy and marriage because they feel like they're going to get called out on the carpet and it's your fault or whatever?
Well, my first thing is when they come to something like an intimacy, they're not going to get called out. If they get called out, it's within the conversation they're having with their own mind, or maybe in a conversation with their spouse as they talk about it. But people don't do that. People in intimacy and marriage, they don't do that. They don't call you out. They don't mock you. They don't say, "How dare you?" But I find in a lot of programs like Intimacy and Marriage or Restore, we think we're the only ones. And what's so good to be there is to go, "Oh my gosh, my story is horrible, but it's not as horrible as the person, next to me," or whatever it might be. And so I always say to men are afraid to go to those kind of things. Women are more, usually they take the lead. They want intimacy, means connection. And women are better at that than men. And so men naturally want to talk about avoiding, they want to avoid that kind of thing. When they do, I find that sometimes they have a better experience than some of the women do because it's a breakthrough for them. So I agree with you, Alice. Our new friend Janet, she's telling a lot of people and a lot of listeners, this is how you do it. And she didn't say it's easy. And she didn't say at the end it's still easy. But she learned something. Like she learned from the show that if somebody is in a relationship and there's an emotional affair, that's just like having an affair, an emotional affair. If there's things that are, physical touch and even words, things like that actually goes past the line. And that's why we need to have boundaries. That's why we need to make wise decisions before we ever get into ourselves into that place. So, good for her. She's getting the award from me for the New Life Person of the Day, Caller of the Day.
I think we avoiders believe if I just don't talk about it, maybe that problem will go away. Right. But unhealthy behavior, sinful behavior, it multiplies in darkness and isolation. It's bringing the light into it, calling it out with love and grace. Right. That's what stops it. Avoidance lets it simmer and grow.
And I always say, before freedom comes pain. And I don't like pain, so I avoid because I don't want the pain of having a disagreement with my spouse or, whatever it might be. And some people avoid as almost a punishment. Sometimes they'll avoid because they don't want the conflict. Other times they'll avoid because if I avoid the way I'm going to do, I'm mad as mad, and so I'll just avoid them because I'm going to kind of punish them. Well, that's not a good reason to. That's not going to ever build intimacy either. And yet, you can do that. I'm a good avoider, so I know all the ways to do it.
Janet, thank you for calling us today and sharing your story, your testimony. I'm sure it's encouraged a lot of other people who were maybe on the fence about signing up for either one of these intensives. But I think you just heard from Janet that it really helps, and you should sign up too. So the next Intimacy and Marriage Intensive is the weekend of October 17th in Dallas. The next Restore Healing After Betrayal workshop is the weekend of November 7th in Washington, D.C. Plenty of time to make plans, to find a babysitter for your kids, all that other stuff. Get all the details at newlife.com or call 1-800-NEW-LIFE to sign up. All right, let's talk to Lou, who is listening in Carson on KKLA. Welcome, Lou, to New Life Live.
Yes, hi. I've been divorced for 6 years. I'm calling regarding my 25-year-old son who does not understand boundaries. He's disrespectful like his father. He won't clean up his room. He irritates me and my and his sister, and he won't leave. So I'm not even speaking to him. How do I deal with him?
So is father still at home?
No.
Oh, you're divorced. That's
Divorced,
right. You did say that. Yes. Okay, and how old is the sister?
His sister is 21.
Okay, and everyone's living under the same household. Okay, what would you guys say?
Well, he doesn't understand boundaries, but partly might be, and I'm going to push on you a little bit on this one, Lou, is, when you give him boundaries and you give him expectations and you negotiate this, then you've got to follow through with whatever the boundary is. If he broke the boundary, then there should be this is like back when he was even little, but there's a kind of a consequence to that. So you give him tough love. Tough love doesn't mean you're mean to him. It means that you allow the consequences of his poor choices to take over. So if you have created a boundary, and I never suggest that people do that in the heat of the battle, but, create some boundaries with him. He probably wants to, move out of the house, in his more sane moment in terms of where he is. So maybe not. But then create together a plan, an exit plan. But within that exit plan, there may have to be some hard conversations about, so if you do this or that and you break the boundary, then what you're saying is you don't want to live here under, and you don't want the food, you don't want the housing, you don't want the clothing, all the kind of things that you're doing for him right now. But you've got to help him launch. And a lot of times, young men, especially at this age, who break boundaries, they are having a failure to launch. And sometimes mom can help greatly in a situation like this by, holding fast to whatever those boundaries are and whatever the consequences of the broken boundaries are. And that's not an easy thing, I understand. And a lot of loving moms say, well, I'm afraid they'll be homeless or they'll, go do drugs or whatever it might be. My experience is give him boundaries, hold to those boundaries, have him kind of agree on the boundaries, and that doesn't always happen, but a lot of times it does, and not in the heat of the battle, but it'll do it in another time. And then hold fast to that. Literally, if you have to write it down, what we talk about sometimes in counseling is the word contract. And so in some ways, you're developing a contract with him. It's not a contract is a legal document. This is just a contract that says, here's what the expectations are. Are you good with that? Okay, and here's what the results are if you don't go with these expectations.
Oh.
Alice.
Lou, I feel so protective for you and your space. It's awful that he's taking advantage of your generosity like this. It's driving you crazy, and it's hurting your daughter. So I'm so sorry that this is going on. I'm going to ask a tough question. Do you know what family pain did your son experience that might still be affecting him today? If you could just give me the headline.
I think it was when his father moved out.
That's a good one.
He totally changed. He became a different person. I cannot even hold a conversation with him because he would start making weird noises. It's so irritating. I don't know what to do.
And he was maybe 19 when his dad left?
Yes.
But there were probably struggles, arguments for some time before he left?
Oh, of course. I
Okay.
mean, his father was a terrible husband.
So keeping in mind that your son has emotional and spiritual injuries, that doesn't justify what he's doing, but it helps you to perhaps continue to approach with compassion and the boundaries that Jim was talking to you about. And I also want you to consider, was there any imperfection in your approach? Did you used to make threats but not follow through? Because your son may have been taught, Mom's telling me to leave, but nothing's really going to happen. Because good boundary work will help clean that up and then enforce what you're asking of him.
All right, Lou, we're going to come back to you when we come back here on New Life Live. Thanks for calling in today. And let's see, we've got Ty standing by and Vaughn, and we're waiting for you guys to call too. We're going to be in the studio for 2 hours today, taking your calls at 1-800-229-3000. Grab an open line while there's still time.
What a New Life course is it's around a topic led by a professional licensed counselor coach with a small group of 8 or 9 people on a weekly Zoom call. You're going to go through the information, but also connect as a group. Those group processes make all the difference in the world. And so we have created New Life courses so that you can experience that on a weekly basis. Every week you're meeting on Zoom with that therapist. You're going over the concepts as well as connecting as a group. It is so powerful. And it's accessible. Wherever you are, you're going to be able to join us. So you can sign up right away with 8 or 9 slots open. They're going to go quick. And so you want to call today and get registered.
Begin your transformation in September with a New Life course. Lose it for life, take your life back, or healing is a choice. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 or online at newlife.com. Club New Life changes lives.
You guys came along into my life in 2022. That was a really, really difficult year of my life.
You can help New Life Ministries provide Christ-centered hope and counseling resources to thousands of people by joining Club New Life today.
I began to really process a lot of things that I've needed to for a long time, and y'all were a very big part of that.
When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, you'll make a difference in the lives of individuals and families with godly counsel and connection to help.
I came out of it having never experienced anything like that, and y'all were there.
Join today and help continue the message of hope to a troubled world.
I knew I had to keep going, and I joined Club New Life, and y'all have been the resource that has now been a light for my wife and I.
Go to newlife.com/CNL, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places.
Keep doing what you do because it makes a difference.
newlife.com/CNL. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
And let's go back to Lou, who's calling in, listening on KKLA. Are you still with us, Lou?
Yes, I am.
All right. So what did you think of what Alice just told you before the break?
I don't know. It's just so hard. It's just so hard. I really would like to get my son to go with me to speak to someone, to some kind of counseling session to see if maybe they can, help her.
I so appreciate that you have that openness because it looks like he's just being a bad, disrespectful, unappreciative son. And that is true to some extent, but there's dysregulation inside of him. There's upset inside of him because it's been a hard life for the family. I can only imagine how hard it's been for you, Lou. And so his rebellion could be a sign of how much is stirring in his heart and in his mind. So I think you're right that to start this with, son, this setup is not working for me. And I think it's not working for you or your sister either. So I think one solution might be, let's get some help. And whether or not he goes, Lou, you go. Because you need some fresh strategies. You need some fresh wording. Because the shape up or get out of here, it's not working right now. And it's still okay to, at the end of the day, after working a plan like Jim has been talking, it's still okay to require that he leave. And you may need to get a show of force to get him to leave because he's refusing. But there's a lot to do before you get to that final step of, I'm getting some men over here, I'm getting the police over here, I'm enacting my legal rights to get you out of my home. Do the heart and soul work first, checking on how you've approached all this so you can clean up your side of the street. That makes it more likely that he'll comply. But if not, you have a right to clear your house of him. But do these other steps first.
I want to say a neat story, and I really want you to hear this. A woman wanted me to talk with her and her son. Very similar story. And I said, great, bring him in. And she called me back and said, he's not coming. I said, well, you come. So we had this conversation, and we had a discussion about how we could get this guy to come. And one had to do with food, because right afterwards, let's do the late appointment so she could go take him out to one of his favorite places near where I live. This woman lives in our area. And I said, give me a shot at him. And so I was his, BFF that day. I listened. We responded. He had some issues with his mom. And you know what? Some of those issues were okay. I mean, they were kind of probably true. So I said, you know what? I'd love, if you wouldn't mind, I don't want you to meet in my office, but I'd love to go down to the coffee place right down the street, and I'd love to have coffee with you. You know what? I'm meeting with him today at 3:30. And so it's one of those things where I don't know what it's going to be like, but all I'm saying is he went, his mom had the courage to go. This is your story that you just said. His mom had the courage to come and hang out with me. This kid is not perfect. And I'm not saying that, at 4:30, he's going to just go, life is good and we're going to do everything that, Jim says to do. And yet that happened. I'm in the midst of that story today. So I suggest strongly, you live in Carson, California. There's some great counselors who could help you think through that. And he may not want to come. But I've seen it over and over again that when mom takes the lead, mom gets some help, and even they see some changes with mom, in terms of how she reacts or whatever. Get the tools you need to you love this young man and you want him to thrive. Well, the way to do that is to get the tools you need to help him thrive. And in the midst of it, you're going to have to take care of, some of those boundary issues.
Lou, when there's a crazy making person in our life and we can't make them stop or shut up or leave, God's solution to it is humility, because you have power over your humility. You don't have power over your son's actions. And so the more you engage with your humility of, gosh, this has been hard. Boy, I've been an imperfect mom. I'm going to make some changes. I'm going to do some things differently around here. You'll be shocked at the changes that enacts in your home, because grace floods in when you choose humility, and that's what you have power over.
Okay.
All right, Lou, Thank you for calling in today. Should we send her a copy of your book, Jim? Doing Life with Your Adult Children. It's available for purchase on the newlife.com store. But Lou, we're going to send you a copy just for calling in today. One of the things you guys said before we get to our next call is about boundaries, not to set those boundaries in the heat of the battle.
Yeah.
And I can see what you're saying, but somebody listening might say, well, wait a minute. When else am I going to set them? I didn't know I had to set this boundary until now that I'm hearing this situation.
Right. Well, I just find that I think this is good marriage advice. I think it's good parenting advice, is that, a lot doesn't get done when the heat's up. And so when things have calmed down, I always say with kids, it's sometimes better over a meal, better with a taco. But, whatever it is. I don't know why I just said taco. Maybe I'm hungry for a taco.
Because tacos solve the world's problems. We know.
It's not
taco
even,
and humility.
It's not even Taco Tuesday.
Tuesday is the most kickback day of the week.
Right.
Because
It's not even
eating tacos.
Right. Not even Taco Tuesday. But what I'm saying is, that's when you can get their attention. And when Alice said, do it with humility, it's possible to not agree with their actions and still practice empathy and humility. That's going to get a lot farther down the road than, yelling and screaming. Doesn't work.
And in the heat of a battle, we say things that are too extreme that we probably can't follow through on.
Right.
I'm never talking to you again. I'm not paying for a single thing. I'm done with this relationship. That's probably much more extreme than the reality. So if we set boundaries when we're calm and clear-headed, they're things we can actually live by.
Empathy, humility, and tacos. That's it.
That's it. That's the answer to today's new life.
Yes. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back with more of your calls. 1-800-229-3000 is the number, and we're going to be here for 2 hours today. So if you can't call in for whatever reason right this second, maybe wait till you park your car, or you get in your house or something, and then give us a call. 1-800-229-3000.
I was stuck. I was so stuck. 27 years married. My husband addicted to pornography for the majority of our marriage. I was very isolated and didn't really know which way to turn.
If you've been affected by betrayal, an emotional or a physical affair, or pornography, Restore Intensive will equip you with support and tools to help you through.
When two people want to do their part, we can be restored. But if they don't, we can still be restored. We are not stuck because someone else made a decision. That God lets us weigh in on how we want to walk out our life. Our wellness does not hinge on another person's decision.
The Restore Intensive is coming to Washington, D.C. November 7th to the 9th. Register online at newlife.com or call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and use the discount code NLL to save $50.
You guys helped me figure out what was going on.
1-800-NEW-LIFE and the discount code NLL. Do you need help for life's hard situations?
My husband recently said he wanted a divorce.
I'm confused on what I should do.
I have an eating disorder.
New Life Live answers your questions on relationships, grief, addiction, trauma, anxiety, and much more, all from a biblical perspective with our panel of professional counselors and psychologists.
I learn a lot from your program.
You help so many people.
I appreciate your ministry.
Whether you listen or watch, there are so many ways to connect with us to ask our panel of counselors a question. Call us Monday through Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific at 1-800-229-3000 to ask your question on New Life Live. Or go to newlife.com/radio for other ways to get your question answered.
I'm trying to find help.
I just want to know how to set boundaries.
If it's a sin, what am I supposed to do?
Need a therapist or a coach, a resource, or an intensive? Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. 1-800-NEW-LIFE. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Anxiety comes in many shapes and sizes. It can even affect children. We're hosting a webinar one day. Actually, it's a one-day webinar. And it's not even an all-day webinar. In just 90 minutes, this lady here, Dr. Alice Benton, is going to show you how to go from chaos to calm. What will people learn at this webinar, Alice?
Oh, God is really preparing a message inside of me for this particular webinar. And it has so much to do with a power we can harness, even in the discomfort of anxiety, because it will lead us to unfinished business that needs our attention. And if we take care of that, we will experience so much more peace, calm, and freedom afterwards. So this is for people who are, you yourselves, struggling with anxiety, but it's also for family members. If you see that your child, your spouse is overcome by anxiety, come to our webinar. We'll equip you. We'll help you.
Is there such a thing as anxiety denial? I guess what I mean is, could someone have anxiety, but they think it's actually something else, and so they just ignore it?
Absolutely. I think we humans, our default is denial. And so it could be that you have a blind spot, or that you benefit from the energy of anxiety, because it can compel you to do things. It can compel people to workaholism. So it can look good on the surface, but the discomfort inside is not the best fuel for us to have. And so if you think your family member has a blind spot, you see their anxiety, but they don't, a gentle invitation to come to the webinar might help them take some of the blinders off and come to a realization about it.
Alice, are you saying that for a guy like me who looks calm on the outside but screaming on the inside, that maybe it would help me?
We have a front row seat saved for you.
I will be there. And you know, I told you already that I'm going to watch this, and
That's
I'm
right.
excited about it. I'm excited to hear from you and your teaching.
Yep, so Jim's going to be there. I've already signed up. We just got to get you signed up now. Go to newlife.com or call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. I tell you, this is the best $19.97 I have ever invested in myself. Which reminds me, how in the world are we only charging $20 for this? Can I talk to the manager? This price is outrageous, outrageously low. You're going to come away feeling like $1 million. So sign up now at newlife.com. It's August 28th, just a couple of weeks away, so sign up today. 1-800-229-3000 is our number. And now we're going to talk to Ty in Billings, Montana, who is listening on One Place. Hi there, Ty. Welcome.
Hi, how are you?
Doing
Can you hear
great.
me all right?
Yep, loud and clear.
So my question today is I'm having troubles with resentment and anger towards my mother for kind of my childhood and also leading up to now because I now have my own kid. In my childhood, it was a lot of alcohol abuse, gambling, just all kinds of different addictions, and it kind of created a lot of uncertainty. Also, my brother was addicted to something, and it, turned all of her attention on him, and I think it kind of really made it so I felt like I didn't have my mom more to, so to say. So I'm just struggling and looking for tools to try and kind of help that resentment and anger I have towards her.
Ty, would you go into a specific example of a time you really needed her and she wasn't physically, emotionally, or mentally there for you?
I would probably be when I found my brother had started to OD in the bathroom.
Oh, Ty.
Excuse me.
Yeah. We're talking to Ty, who's calling in from Billings, Montana, to share his story with us and get some help at 1-800-229-3000. You okay, Ty?
Yeah, I'm all right. So when he started to OD in the bathroom, obviously all the attention went to him, and I was only like 15 at the time, and I really didn't know how to deal with it.
And she eventually helped him, but not you, and she probably never addressed what that was like for you to go through with your brother.
No, not at all.
Ty, I want you to notice that as you brought up that story, we tapped into something in your heart. You felt something strong, and I bet it was like overwhelm, sadness, loneliness, totally overlooked. Do any of those fit for you?
Yeah, I think so.
These stories of all that you went through are locked away, compartmentalized, somewhere inside you. And you have to push things like that to the side so that you can keep going. And I bet you kind of became an adult very young because there wasn't an adult directly taking care of you. And so the way...
That hits the nail on the head.
Okay. And the way to address the resentment is to get care for you, and this is going to sound strange, but also for that 15-year-old you and other younger ages within you when you were overlooked and not cared for. And that can happen in counseling, where a therapist draws these kinds of stories out, draws out those emotions that have been locked away for all this time. Because on the surface, those emotions look like a crust of anger and resentment. But right underneath them is usually fear and sadness. And by processing that, by letting that come out in story form, that's when the resentment starts to break up and be metabolized and decrease.
I think she hit the nail on the spot with what you're possibly going through. I mean, find a good counselor to walk through this with. And you know what? It's not going to happen in one day. Okay, this is a process where, and when she said go back to the 15-year-old, a good counselor will help you deal with that. So, one of the phrases I've heard here at New Life often is, if you don't heal, you will repeat. And I think sometimes a good motivator to get the help you need from the past, and you can't change your mom, but you can change you. And you can be the transitional, what I always call the transitional generation, and change the trajectory for your child. You talked about, a lot of times when we have our own children, that's when we get in touch with some of the pain of our own childhood. So, go get that help, not for just, trying to make it work for you, but do that for your child. You'll be a better dad. You'll be a better person. But you are ruthlessly honest about your own brokenness, and that's the first step, and you're willing to do that. So great. Now work at that issue of, it's never going to, you grew up in a dysfunctional home. I mean, you talked about alcoholism and gambling and all this kind of stuff. You were maybe even felt a bit abandoned. I felt abandoned for you at that 15-year-old time. But the good news is that our God is what we call the Rapha healer. Our God can help you. He comes alongside of you. He gives, his compassion is never ending. And so get in touch with his healing as well. And a lot of times he uses another person to help you get in touch with, the brokenness inside of you. And we all have brokenness. Your story hurts my heart. And yet at the same time, it's not that unlike a lot of the other listeners who have some brokenness too. The ones who thrive and don't repeat are the ones who get some healing.
Ty, you are totally justified in your resentment, and you have every right to be angry with your mom. There's something, though, about your soul that draws you to better, that there's a problem for me to just sit with this resentment. There's something better for my life. They say that anger is like swallowing poison, hoping that same poison will affect your perpetrator. But it poisons you. Yeah. So I honor that you're asking this question. And lastly, I just want to forewarn you. As your son ages, when he hits ages that were particularly traumatic for you, you will probably feel as if you're starting to go through some of those old emotions again. Wow. It's a strange system that it works that way. But I think, like Jim said, it's a call from the Holy Spirit of, hey, there's something at this age. Yeah. There's a pain here that can be healed if you'll give attention to it, in the context especially of a professional counseling session.
Yeah.
What should we send Ty from the newlife.com store that would help him with this situation?
I think Take Your Life Back.
Okay. Yeah. Take Your Life Back. So Ty, stay on the phone, and we'll send you a copy of Take Your Life Back from the newlife.com store. And that reminds me, we've got a course coming up really soon called Take Your Life Back. It starts the first week of September. You can get all the details about it at newlife.com or by calling 1-800-NEW-LIFE. If you feel trapped by past pain, toxic relationships, or patterns that won't break, Take Your Life Back is a 12-week online course that will help you break free from what's been holding you down. Codependency, guilt, regret, unhealthy boundaries, or emotional wounds. And you'll rediscover who you are in Christ. It is time to reclaim your future. You can stop the cycle and take your life back. Again, more details at newlife.com. Giving to New Life enables people to get in contact with Christ-centered help. Your generosity goes a long way to help a hurting person find hope, healing, and a brand new start. Make a gift now at newlife.com. or by calling 1-800-NEW-LIFE, or you can text NLM to 28950. Small gifts are welcome. Large gifts are welcome. For those of you whose love language is coffee, your gift can be tall, grande, venti, or trenta. You can even add a shot. I think you know what I'm talking about there. God bless you for whatever you can do. Again, go to newlife.com or call 1-800-NEW-LIFE or text NLM to 28950. Everything okay?
Yeah, I'm just laughing at your description. It's a good description.
Thank you. Okay. All right. So we've got more calls coming up, and we're going to be in the studio for another hour as well. So grab an open line. 1-800-229-3000 is our number.
I was sort of vaguely familiar that the 12 steps had some origination in the Bible. I found Life Recovery, and one of the things I liked so much was that it had such a broad appeal. It wasn't limited to just alcohol or drugs, that it was addressing a wide range of problems.
At New Life, we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country. They take place online, in conference calls, and in person. And if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. We have startup materials, leaders' guides, CDs, Bibles, and more, all with discounts available for groups. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE and ask for Terry Ward. The 12 Steps have long been a great help to people in recovery because much of the 12 Steps' power comes from the fact that they capture principles clearly revealed in the Bible.
The 12 Steps is really a pattern for all of us as Christians.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. For over 35 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
Your ministry has saved my life.
If you struggle with emotional hurt, family or marriage problems, the pit of depression, or the pain of addiction, we can help.
I'm down 100 pounds now from what I was.
I found a counselor through New Life Ministries, and it's just been outstanding.
Our treatment programs provide clinically appropriate solutions from licensed professionals, all in a biblical framework.
I have had problems with alcohol. I think God has ordained this place to be His.
You don't have to be a prisoner of your pain. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
She tells me that I'm a new man, and I feel like a new man.
It worked for me, and it can work for them too.
This time it is different.
If you're ready to take the first steps toward genuine spiritual and emotional healing, call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. God can open the door for a better tomorrow.
To get someone that's competent, that's good at what they do, it's been like day and night compared to what I've had before.
Call 1-800-639-5433. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Hey, who said learning was just for kids going off to school? We should always be learning, always trying to improve our skills or learn something new. We've got 3 New Life online courses that begin the first week of September. I was talking about one of them just a few minutes ago, Take Your Life Back. It's 1 day a week for 12 weeks. By the time 2026 comes along, you'll be well ahead in your goals for healing, weight loss, or taking your life back. Come to newlife.com to learn more or call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Let's go to Texas and talk to Vaughn, listening on KWRD. Hi there, Vaughn. Welcome to New Life Live.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Yeah. How can we help you?
Yeah, so I'm struggling with my emotions right now, right? And I'm sorry if I'm calling to vent a little bit, but I'm struggling with my emotions a little bit, right?
Okay.
Because me and my mother had agreed to some circumstances that she's no longer keeping up on her end, right?
Okay.
So now I'm having to take full responsibility of what we should have both had responsibility of. And I think I'm struggling with, like, wanting to cut her off and say, like, all right, well, now you got to go and, like, do your own thing. But then, like, the other side of me is saying, like, well, then that would make, like, I would be a bad son by doing those sort of things. So I'm just really, my question, I think, is, would I be a bad son to my mother if I cut her off for not, handling the side of her business?
Okay. Do you want to be a little more specific with what that is?
Okay, yeah, for sure. So, we agreed to move into a house together where, the bills and everything could be split or, that sanctioned. But now, she doesn't have a job. She doesn't have a job now, and I'm actually having to take responsibility for her side totally, right?
Now, when you say she doesn't have a job, did she leave her job? Has she not looked for new employment?
So she actually was fired from her last job for some nonsense, and then she actually broke her femur recently. So she has been living with my sister. Man, y'all guys ask good questions. She's been living with my sister, and, my sister has 8 kids, and it's kind of a crazy house over there. So, and because of time, I want to make a long story short. So yeah, so like she's been through that, but I moved her. I agreed with her. Hey, look, Mom, I can do this for us if you will be able to agree to the circumstances. And she's like, yes. And then there was a point to even when I was feeling like I didn't think she would agree to it, she was still like, yes, we can do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. I got you. Being very supportive to me.
And Vaughn, I'm going to insert a question here. Does she have a history of following through on her agreements, or has she generally been irresponsible in her life?
No, she hasn't. She would make you feel good about the things that she says are coming up, but then a lot of the times it does not follow through. Yes, ma'am.
And do you know of anything that is an obstacle for her in following through? For instance, does she have, right now she's got a broken femur. Historically, has she had a physical or a mental health impairment? Does she struggle with drug use or alcohol use?
I've never seen that in her. It's never been brought to my attention. So no, I don't think anything like that.
Well, I sure understand your desire to cut her off because she's not holding up her end of the deal. I always caution people to be really careful about a decision to cut a person off, especially an immediate family member. I think if you're a believer and if God's way is important to you, it's fine to set boundaries, to put space between yourself and your mom, and to renegotiate the agreement. But if God calls us to honor our parents, cutting them off entirely is not usually the best long-term solution. And so I want you to rethink, what temporary solution do you need, Vaughn? And it may be, Mom, we got to renegotiate the deal. It may be, Mom, your femur's broken. I can keep helping you. I can keep financially supporting you for the next 3 months, 6 months.
But then that's so good. And I do not mean to cut you off. I'm so sorry, but I feel like I've thought about that. But I feel like I'm being taken advantage of by my mother at a point where now I want to be like, all right, like I want to tell her, you need to get up and go somewhere and do something, and instead of just lingering in the house all day scrolling through your phone. That's my struggle with my mother.
Right. Well, what's interesting is when you were young, she was the parent, she was the adult, you were the young guy. And today you have two.
Right.
Now it's reinventing the relationship where two adults are talking. So you'll have to have adult conversations with her, and that's always hard I think for a son or a daughter to be talking with.
And that is very hard, because when we have those conversations, she cries and she gets angry and she yells, and I have to walk away because I'm like, well, I'm trying to talk to you.
Yeah. I've got a couple of thoughts. One might be to bring do you have other siblings? You have your sister who has the 8 kids. Are there other family members there?
I do, but they're by another woman.
Another woman. Okay. So what I was thinking about, well, especially with this sister is her biological daughter?
Yes, my biological sister.
Yeah, your biological. Okay, so what I was thinking is sometimes those kinds of conversations go better if the entire family is kind of in agreement. And I don't mean to say against mom, but more in agreement with what you could do. And I would say create a plan. Create a plan. And I like what Alice said. I use 2 words: honor and protect. You need to protect your own situation. You don't want to go broke, in her situation, or you also want to protect your own heart, because this is your mom. But you honor her. Right. She's your mom, and she has a broken femur. And so again, the worst thing to do would be tomorrow, in the heat of the battle, you used that word earlier,
just
kick her out. You don't want to do that. But
I don't want to do that.
No,
I don't want to do that. No.
But almost like reversing the relationship where you're almost the parent. That's not your job to be her parent, but to be able to say, you know what, Mom, we came in with this, and here's what I can do, and here's the time frame. How do you feel about that? Because she may say yes, but do that in the presence with your sister as well, so that when, and it's probably not if, but when she doesn't go through those, then you kind of go, Mom, it's so hard. We're going to have to make changes. And here's the sacrifice I'm going to make, and here's the sacrifice you're going to have to make. And so don't do it by surprise. But again, it may not have a good ending. I'm sorry, it may not, Vaughn. It may be really tough. She's going to scream and cry and continue to scroll, whatever it is. But nevertheless, you can't stay in that relationship, or what's going to happen is you're going to continue to have resentment. You're going to continue to have bitterness, and this is your mom. You don't want that. Now, the way to do that is to have an adult to an adult conversation. Now, she may not treat it like an adult conversation, see? Because when people scream and yell and cry and do that, they're not being adults. But if you can do that, I would suggest that you bring in your sister, and I'm sure she's probably in agreement with you. Is she?
Absolutely not. My mother and my sister, they are like hand in hand.
Okay, I gotcha. Okay.
We're running out of time here.
Yeah.
Do you have a quick thought?
I just want to challenge you, Vaughn. Consider that you might have wishful thinking, like this time will be different, and that leads you into more agreements with your mom. Be prepared to tell her what you can do for her and what you cannot do.
What book from the newlife.com store can we send to Vaughn, would you say? We'll think about it.
Our Boundaries book.
Boundaries. Okay, we'll do that. And if you're on hold right now, stay on hold. We're going to talk to you in just a little bit. Keep calling 1-800-229-3000.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 or online at newlife.com. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.